beginning anyway. So welcome to, I guess this is our third meeting of this new virtual ACE that we created called ITSM-ESM Masters. And today's topic is workflow wizardry. And this time we don't have a guest presenter. Jóvin, the co-leader for this Atlassian Community Events chapter, is going to do this presentation for us himself, because he himself is a JSM administrator, among other things. And so he's going to lead today's session. So welcome and introductions. We're going to keep microphones muted today. We're going to have a rather large audience, somewhere around 50 or 60 people by the time we're done. And we're going to ask everyone that when you do have a question, please pose it in the chat session. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat while Jóvin is speaking, and we'll try to take those questions as they come as best we can. If you were with us last time, you know that we unfortunately messed up the recording for the Zoom. A little bit of user error, a little bit of Zoom functionality that wasn't quite the way we thought it should be. So in any case, this time we'll be very sure to make sure we have a recording for everyone, whether you attended or were unable to attend. We'll send the information on how to view the recording afterwards. And then we're going to do, as we typically do, I think this will become the tradition, during the wrap-up, we'll do a quick Mentimeter quiz. So if you pay attention today, you have a better chance to walk away with a $50 Amazon gift card. We'll give away 4 of those Amazon gift cards to 4 lucky winners.
Very nice.
Some news for everyone, if you participated before, or even if you haven't. Due to popular demand, we're going to start offering APAC-friendly meeting times for this meeting as well, in addition to the usual 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. GMT that we're already, that's the cadence that we use today. But thanks to one of my work colleagues and a longtime Atlassian community leader, Sujat Nir, he's joined the team. He's based in India, so he'll be able to organize meetings in the APAC time zone. So keep an eye out for that, which is actually a great reminder. Something that I've learned about the platform that Atlassian uses for these meetings is that when you register for a meeting, you're not signing up to get emails or registering for the chapter itself. So if you want to be appraised of future meetings, please do be sure to join the chapter at ace.atlassian.com. When you join the chapter, not only will you get information about the recording that we did for this meeting, but you'll also get information about future meetings. And if that's something you're interested in, be sure to join the chapter, not just sign up for the event. Many of us are super excited about Team 25. It's going to be in Anaheim, California this year. If you're not familiar with it, it's Atlassian's annual user conference. It's their biggest event of the year. It's when they make most of their announcements. There'll be lots of peers and Atlassian partners at the event. If you've been, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should try to go. And we're able to offer everyone that's part of this ACE chapter a discount. So if you haven't already registered for Team 25 and you're thinking about it, there's lots of great information on the Atlassian website at the URL below, including how to convince your manager it's worth the budget to send you to the show. And you can even say, hey, look, I even found a 20% discount. So record that discount if that's something you're interested in doing. And I'm particularly excited about the fact that we have officially gotten permission from Atlassian to have an in-person meetup at Team 25. Atlassian essentially takes over the event venue and all of the nearby hotels, and anything and everything that's happening in those hotels or in the event venue, the convention center during Team, has to be approved by Atlassian. So we got approval last week to have a breakfast meetup for ITSM-ESM Masters. It's going to be in a restaurant that's a short walk from the convention center. Anyone who's going to Team 25, or many of the folks that are going to Team 25, may be staying at that hotel, in fact, or they'll be staying at one of the nearby hotels. So again, join the chapter if you're going to Team 25, and you'll see all the communication about this breakfast meetup. Right now, we have reserved space for 30 people. I think we can increase the number, so it kind of depends if we need to. It depends on how many people from this chapter, this ACE chapter, are coming to Atlassian Team 25. But those of you that are will create a mechanism for signing up for that breakfast. I'm hopeful that we won't have to cap attendance. We'll have to see how the response is. If we get hundreds of people asking to join us for breakfast, I think we'll have to cap it and do some sort of a pulling names from a hat sort of thing. But anyway, we'll be there, or I'll be there at least. I guess Jóvin's not going to make it. Sajit, who I just mentioned a moment ago, he'll be there. We'll have some people from the Atlassian JSM team join us for that breakfast. There'll be no presentations. It's just going to be an informal networking event where you can meet your peers and meet some of the folks from the JSM team at Atlassian. And last but not least, we want to deliver what you want to see. So so far, Jóvin and I have basically been choosing the topics because we haven't gotten any feedback yet. We'd love for you to go to our page in the Atlassian community, ace.atlassian.com/ITSM-ESM Masters. Click on the Contact the Group button and send us your suggestions. If there's a topic you want us to cover, or you have perhaps you'd like to present yourself, as Jóvin is today, or you know somebody that we should try to persuade to become a speaker at one of our future events, just give us your feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jóvin, and he's going to walk us through his session today.
Cheers for that, Dave. Let me just find the correct window to share. That's the one we want to share. Cool. That should be working for everyone. I don't know how to move the Zoom toolbar that's sitting over the top. I might just share the window itself. Okay, cool. So that's there. Hopefully that's coming through nice and clearly for everyone. Is that there, Dave? Yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. Cool. All right.
Maybe
so,
can you zoom in? There you go. That's better.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was on the wrong tab. Didn't have the Zoom set correctly. Yeah, so thanks for joining in today. This is the first series of our workflow wizardry. So today we're going to start a little bit on the more basic side of things overall. But the intent is that we're going to, run more of these if it's interesting to people, and get more and more advanced and look at sort of some really creative and complex automation rules that we can run, workflows you can design, and basically how you can really get the most out of the IT service management in Jira, while also, benefiting from the fact that Jira has this fluidity and dynamic style of management, but also learning how to get some of those really good governance and metric-based things out of there as well. So it's one of those things that I've gone through the process of delivering at my current employer. And, just by doing some tweaks and actually leveraging the service management projects correctly, you can achieve some pretty high, pretty impressive results. I believe Kate shared some really impressive stats in our first session, is that right, Dave, about MTTR reductions and stuff like that at a couple of the customers in the UK and the States. And my employer is no different. We've seen some pretty amazing stuff as well. So, so we'll jump in, and creating a service project is just like creating any other project in Jira. You go to your projects area, you click create project, and then you can go ahead and choose it, right? And they're dotted throughout these as well in some places, but if you want to see them all collected in one spot, you can just choose service management, and they're all right here. And depending on which one of these ones you pick, can sort of help inform what kind of automation you have access to and things like that. So for the purposes of this one, we've gone with just this IT service management template here. Comes with a bunch of different request types out of the box. Comes with some automations out of the box as well. We'll dive in and have a look at these ones. And it also comes with some pre-built workflows for us too. So here's our project, and Dave has kindly raised some tickets for us as well. But what we'll do is we're going to jump in and just have a quick look at the out-of-the-box features and setup. So we are working live in production here, and if there's any questions that relate to what I'm talking about, Dave is going to call them out. Otherwise, we'll go through and answer any questions at the end as well. And anything that's a little bit off piece of what we're talking about today, I'll answer in our wrap up, or we might roll into a future workflow wizardry as well. So one of the first good things to do with really any Jira project, but especially with service management, because the number of features available, is just checking out the features in your project settings. Because service management projects have a lot of stuff in there, from different queue sections, service request management, incident management, through to other views, calendar and board views, huge amounts of customer information, different other views for developers, all these other things as well, including, operations, which was that ops genie merge and stuff like that. So loads of stuff to have a look at here. But we're going to focus mostly on two sections today, which is our workflows and our automations, because they work in tandem together to really sort of unlock that power. So what we want to do first off is just have a look at our out-of-the-box workflows. So we've got 4 different workflows here. The relevant ones that tie into our portal are the incident, service request with approvals, and service request. By default, none of the request types that come out on the portal actually use the task and subtask workflows. They're more for our support agents that work on them. Let's have a look at these and just see what we can see that looks good and what we think it might be missing. So initially we've got our incident management, and nice and basic. We've got our open, work in progress, pending for whatever pending reason might be. We've got our completed, our cancelled, and our closed statuses. So it's always good to hover over these, and you can see where all the directions can go with looking at the arrows. And one of the first things I did, at my company was expand this pending status and make a couple of different ones so it's really clear and easy to report on. You can do that by using custom fields, so, pending with a pending reason, or sub-status category, whatever you want to call it. I found it much easier to work with just having unique statuses for the team. It was much easier to get them to take on putting them in the right data. With our work in progress, as I said before, and our other statuses. So what we can see is we've got 2 different areas that we can go to for marking it complete. We've got cancelled and we've got completed, and they can go to closed as well. And what we can see here with the difference with these is completed and cancelled have multiple ways to get in, whereas closed is only from completed or cancelled. And you'll also notice that closed has no way out. So it's kind of like that end of life destination for it. For our out of the box workflow for incident management, I'll zoom in a little bit more so it's a bit more clearer. We can see when we hover over completed, it does have a back to work in progress stat, which is great because we might mark something complete a little bit early, or the customer might come back and say, I thought it was resolved, actually it wasn't. But what we can see here as well, and this is what we want to have a look at, see what inconsistencies we might have or where we might want to improve the built-in workflows. Cancelled doesn't. So once it gets cancelled, that's it. The only route it can go from there is closed. So, accidental cancellations happen. Sometimes, we need to reopen it, or maybe we click cancelled instead of complete. So that's probably one thing we're going to address today. We're going to let us reopen it from there. We'll jump over and have a look at our service request ones now as well. So we've got, let's just have a look at service request first. So service request is quite a bit more complex, as you can see. It gets quite messy when there's lots of different statuses, although Atlassian have done a very, very good job with making this look as neat as possible. We've got all of our active statuses that we might need to indicate where the current life cycle is for the ticket. So waiting for support, obviously being sitting with our agents, with my team, your teams. Waiting for customers, obviously waiting for them to give us some information. Escalated. So that could be, every company uses escalated for different reasons, right? That could be a customer is escalating it to try and get the attention if we allow them to do that from the portal. It could be that, we've got an automation rule that automatically escalates an incident based on its SLA status. It could be a few different reasons for escalate. It could be escalating to a developer. We need help from our third line. We've still got our pending status, and we've once again got our resolved, our cancelled, and our closed.
Here's we have our first question.
Yes.
So Josh is mentioning that his team is quite set on having one done status. and then
One done status?
leveraging yes, one done status, and then leveraging resolution for completed, canceled, and duplicate. Do you have any rationale to consider for having multiple done statuses versus a resolution?
Yeah. So I mean, regardless of whether you have more than one or only one done status, that resolution field is still there. It's not required, but it can still sit there. So likewise, at my organization, we use a single done status that we can move into and out of, but we do have that. We still have that closed status as well. So this is probably a little bit just clearer for the customer on the portal that, this was cancelled versus resolved. Whereas, using the resolution, it can still convey that. And you can also update your customer notifications to give them that information, right? This was cancelled duplicate. So it really just comes down to your own personal preference as an admin or as an organization about how you visualize and manage that. We've just got one that says completed, and we use the resolutions. We've got, done, duplicate, cancelled, can't reproduce, redirected to external vendor as options that we have, because sometimes we have tickets come in for us for some of the services that the business uses that aren't supported by our team, and we direct them through to the correct people there. So, yeah, the resolution is just let you have that sort of sub status, if you would, which is really useful. Why I also have that second done status of closed, it just lets you indicate to the customer that, hey, this is actually fully done. You've confirmed with us that we're okay to close it, or it's reached some kind of life cycle, which is something we'll touch on a bit later as well, how we can sort of help manage that. Hopefully that.
I could just add a quick comment, Jóvin. One of the things Jóvin mentioned at the beginning is that JSM and Jira both are very flexible in terms of you setting up the workflow the way you want it to be in this example. And in lots of other areas as well. Atlassian products are known for their flexibility. That's both a blessing and a curse in my experience. It becomes a curse if things get out of control and get very messy. If there are no guardrails and people can do whatever they want, you end up with lots of duplication of effort and multiple statuses that mean the same things, et cetera, et cetera.
Definitely does.
But as Jóvin pointed out, for his organization, this is the approach that made sense. If for your organization, a different approach might make sense, and that's okay. The best practices are hard to define in the Atlassian world sometimes.
Yeah. And the good thing is you can have multiple transitions to a single status, right? So all of these ones here, they've got to resolve, all use the same resolve the issue status. You could also just have a single done status and have a second transition called cancel ticket. Why would you do a second transition to the same status? You can actually predefine what that resolution is. So you could say, instead of presenting a transition screen and getting someone to fill in what was the resolution of this, you can just have it pre-fill that. So if they pick the cancelled transition, it just pre-fills it as cancelled. If they pick the done, it pre-fills it as done. So all that kind of stuff. So yeah, really great question.
There's another one which I'll just take quickly, but yeah. Quang is asking about they apparently don't have they're unable to edit a workflow, and I think the simple answer, Quang, is that you haven't been given permission to do that, and permission schemes in Jira are also very flexible. They can be customized by the customer, so that's probably a question for Atlassian. You want to contact the Atlassian support desk on this, because they can look at your exact configuration and help you figure out why you're not able to do it. But even before reaching out to Atlassian, I'd just check with your local Jira administrator to see, ask them to take a look at how how the permissions were set up and why you don't have permission to edit the workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's that flexibility coming back there as well, right? So we do have an escalated one at our organization, which we use, as I said, for customers to get attention for us. We don't have pending. We opted away from that and instead have various different waiting statuses, waiting for customer, waiting for approval, waiting for external vendor, all that kind of stuff. Cool. So one thing that I've noticed as well on this one, once again, if we cancel this ticket, we can't reopen it. So I want to fix that one. But also something that's quite subtle that I fixed up on mine, and some people might want to if they're would like things to match. In our incident management workflow, we've got work in progress. In our service request workflow, we've got in progress. So that's something that's going to factor into our ability to leverage automation rules. We'll have to have separate ones or extra considerations depending on the issue type that they're raising. That could be intentional, but also sometimes I think it's also good to reduce complexity and condense down similar stats as well. Looking at our last one that we'll look at today, which is the service request with approvals, it's exactly the same as the previous one. Just we've got one more status at the top here, which is waiting for approval. And so obviously that probably has an approval tied to it that requires the portal, someone to sign in and click approve or reject. And it's got two transitions for it. Reject if it's declined, goes to resolved. And we've also got cancel request, which is probably saying that, we're canceling it. It wasn't approved or rejected. We're just canceling because it was erroneously raised or something like that. Cool. So what we're going to do is we'll go through and we'll quickly fix up these workflows. So we'll have a look at the editor, the workflow editor, both the old and the new view, but I'll work predominantly in the old view. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build in, we're going to have a look at our system rules and our automation rules to allow us to flip the status between our active and our waiting statuses automatically. So
yeah, but I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Is there a way to set up multiple approvals on one status?
There is a way to do it. So and once again, Jira, there's many different ways to achieve this. So on the actual approval status, let's jump in here so I can actually show you how that approval is configured. Oh, that is the wrong one. I'll just discard that draft very quickly and just go back to the previous screen. So configuring approvals, this is our text-based editor. If you like just seeing the status and everything like that, you can use this one here. I'm not a huge fan of this view, but if we go to our diagram, it's much easier to find where we are. On our waiting for approval, you can see it's got an include approval step. So there's a couple of different ways you can achieve it if you need multiple approvals on a single step. So first one is, instead of using an approvers field, use an approver groups field. And then you can change the criteria. So we can say specific number of people from each group. So if you go like that, that will then require for each group at least one person to click that approve button. That's the easiest way to achieve it, but that does require everyone to have a Atlassian account. So not a customer-only portal account. You can't leverage that groups with customer-only portal accounts. If you need customers to be approving things, such as it might be someone's line leader, or you might have, maybe you're providing support externally to another client, and they need to have their senior sign off on any support requests because it consumes work hours or whatever. You would need to use that specific number of people and have the approvers section instead of the approver groups. You can also configure as many of these fields, the approver groups and multi-user pickers for approvers. So you can have different kinds of things here, but each approval step can only ever look at one of these situations. Another way you can do it is when the ticket is raised, you can have automation rules come in and build out approval tasks. So it's like a related issue that tracks individual approvals. And when each of those is approved, it then triggers a check to see if they've all been approved. And if so, it then goes ahead and moves it on from that status. So it's kind of leveraging that relationship method in there. Or you can also make use of looping transitions where it can do sort of self-referencing checks on some fields on there. So I think that could be a good topic to have a look at for a future workflow wizardry, because looping transitions have a lot of different purposes, and that's a good one. We've got some advanced automation rules there as well that we can have a look at. But yeah, there's quite a few different ones. And if you want some more specifics on that, feel free to reach out to the group, and I can help out with finding out if we can solve your use case there.
I've got another question too as well. Does JSM auto send, a notification that this ticket is resolved whenever you populate a resolution field. And related, I'm having a problem with transitioning to the cancel status, and JSM is sending resolved to the email, a resolved email to the reporter.
Yeah, so that comes down to the, if I just jump in here very quickly, we're deviating a little bit from the topic, that's fine, it's nice and quick to see. We can go into our project settings, and we can go to this notification section here, and we can go to customer notifications. And what we can see here is these are all the default notifications that we have. And when a request is resolved, it can fire off that email. And so we can see here what's the criteria. It's when the request resolution field is set. So that will notify them. Now you can either turn this off and instead leverage an automation rule to send a different kind of email depending on all the different sort of done status you have or resolutions you have, or you can jump in here and just clarify in here. You would need to have more than a free plan for this, but you can go ahead and you can modify these templates. So you can change the subject to say, is marked as completed, cancelled, or done, cancelled, whatever it might be. So take your pick which way works best for you. Obviously, this way here still requires it to be that fixed template, and you can put those dynamic variables from the issue. But if you need different communications depending on the resolution that was set, automation rules are going to be the better option for you. But just know that will obviously consume automation rule executions, which we'll touch base on, and I'll talk about how you can get around those limitations of number of executions. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to keep working on just fixing this one up here. I'm going to be careful not to choose new status. So when we're editing a workflow, we can add a status or a transition. In this one here, we're just going to add in an existing status just to align the terminologies on our workflows. So I'm going to add that work in progress status and connecting it all up. Super easy, just moving all of those statuses that were previously connected to it. So we can just go like that. And it's going to start complaining that there's no way to get into this status now, only ways to get out. That's fine, because we're about to delete that status. So to delete, you just need to put that. Oh, we're in an active workflow. Okay, gotcha. I'll have to clean that one up later. Cool. I'll have to just very quickly duplicate that one there. I'll show you the other way to get in there. Issues, workflows, and then we'll find that one there. Excellent. And it's probably always best to do a copy anyway, so that way you're not overriding production stuff straight away. We'll do it with just this one here. We'll just do that one again. Perfect. And it's always great to, make sure you check out all the properties and the post functions and everything else as well to make sure it's all behaving correctly. So you can see all that stuff by actually selecting the status that you're working on. So if I just quickly fix that one up, I can delete that status now. That's fine. And what we can do is we can click on the status, and status have properties, transitions have all the rest of the stuff, properties, triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions. So you can set all kinds of different properties, such as, commenting allowed, attachments allowed, read-only allowed, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to double check our transition that goes from resolved into work in progress, which is the back to work in progress. And we're going to have a look at the post functions for a second, because when we resolve the ticket, we choose the resolution, done, won't do, can't reproduce, cancelled. But when we reopen it, we want to make sure that that has been cleared. So great thing is the default workflows already have that in there. The resolution of the issue will be cleared. But we can always add extra post functions on there to handle that. So we'll close that tab now. And then one thing that I'm just going to do to catch up to something later on in the session is this closed status. Currently, anyone can can close it. So depending on your organization's setup, that might be by design, right? We might go market resolve. If the customer doesn't get back to us, we can close that out at a certain time. Or maybe we go, hey, am I okay to close it? And the customer can say, yes, you're okay. And then we can close it manually. Once again, my organization, we choose to not do that. We automate that part. So we leverage an SLA, time to close after resolution. And when that one's triggered, we then move it to closed. And so what I do as well is to prevent anyone accidentally closing a ticket early, I like to put a transition condition on that. And the great thing is when you select one of these transitions, if you see other ones highlighted blue, it means it's going to affect all of those. So the key thing to know is if you want it to only affect one of these transitions, you just need to create a second transition with a different name, and then you can have differing styles of transition. So let's jump in here and set a condition on this one. And simple as just going into add condition, and we get presented with all these things here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to design an automation rule to handle that for us later on. And the reason we're doing that, once again, is so that way our teams don't accidentally close the ticket early, or you might have a customer that's being a bit difficult, and someone might want to close the ticket to prevent it being reopened. Not a great customer service experience there. This way we can have that little bit of governance and oversight. So what we do is we can actually go ahead and say user is in a project role, specific project role, and there's a special project role that's added to every project in Jira, which is the Atlassian add-ons project act. So any add-ons that you get in will have this project role applied to them, including automation for Jira as well. So that's really good. So what we're effectively saying here is only automation for Jira is allowed to do this transition. Whenever you open up any of these,
quick question.
Yeah.
Are the properties specific to status on this project, or will changing the properties here change it on all workflows, all projects?
It is specific to the workflow. I am fairly sure that you need to modify it multiple times. Let's confirm that right now. I'm going to do a property right now on close. So good segue there, Dave. We're going to make closed be read only. We don't want people commenting on, I'm still having an issue here. We can't reopen it. We can't track this as active work anymore. So we're going to make this one read only. And all properties are defined with a key and a value. So the key is basically saying what setting are we setting in the back end and what is the value we want to set it to. So you can find all of these kind of stuff by looking at just doing a Google search for Jira status properties. There's a really great article which I'll include in our wrap-up article on this one here as well. But we can go jira.issue.editable, and there's all sorts of different ones that follow that format. Jira.issue.comments, attachments, as I said before, and you can append other things as well, such as groups, user, whatever it might be. And we're just going to put that as false. So we're just saying that this issue is editable, is no longer editable when it's in the closed step, when closed status. So what we'll do is that's automatically saved. They auto save as you go. Let's bring that one in, and then what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at the editing one of the other status, one of the other ones, and we'll double check that.
Another quick question, Jóvin, that I
Yeah,
don't know the answer to. Can the workflow wizard be used in the phone app?
I don't think so. I haven't used the phone app terribly deeply. Yeah,
sure.
I don't think it can. I think the phone app is more just for accessing the project, sort of, the issues and all that kind of stuff, rather than being full administration. But that would be very cool if you could do it in the app. I'll have a play around and see if we can get an answer for that.
Personally, I'm having a hard time imagining trying to do that on a phone screen.
Yeah, it would be an interesting one, that's for sure. So we called this one here V2. I'm just going to add that one in. We're going to pick the same one here that we had before, and we'll click finish. And we've got that there, and it's going to keep telling me that the zoom level is not default. And you'll always have to publish your workflow scheme just there. So I'll just publish that there now. If there's ever a change in statuses being available, so we don't have in progress available anymore, you can map it. So we'll just go work in progress and we'll associate that. And there's no tickets, so it should be nice and quick for that one. Cool. So that's that. Let's have a quick look and just confirm that answer. So we set that editable only to the closed status. So let's view the properties of the closed status in our incident management workflow. There you go, it was global. So at least for that scheme. So we can see here of Wizard incident management workflow for Jira Service Management. So it's likely on our workflow scheme. Once again, I'll go ahead and confirm that and put that in our wrap up. So that's a really good question to ask there. We've only got one project that leverages the closed status at my organization, so I haven't run into that before. Cool. So we've got that configured. We won't fix up the other one for now. Let's just jump back into our project settings and we'll have a look at our system rules because we're running out of time. Didn't realize we would have so many really good questions coming in. So automation, this is how we can really start to leverage our workflows a lot without it being so much manual work on our team to check, has our customer replied? Have they reopened the ticket or anything like that? And each of our service projects comes with some predefined system rules. So once again, I'll send out these to everyone in the wrap up. But there's 3 service management templates that we have: IT service management, customer service management, and IT service management essentials. And each of them has 2 system rules that come by default with it. You cannot change these over. It looks like they've actually duplicated this over and over and over. They haven't fixed up which one's available. But there's 2 unique rules that come for each of the different service management projects. The one we chose was IT service management. These aren't the correct ones. So we'll have a look at the correct system rules now. So we've got 2, and they're nice descriptive names. When a comment is added, update the status. Great. And when a customer comments on a closed request, reopen the request. So system rules cannot be modified outside of just the actual configurations of the individual actions. So you'll notice that we can't add a component unless we clone the rule. We also can't delete the components unless we clone the rule, but we can configure our specifics in here. And so that's why I was wanting to align those statuses a bit. So it's always good to make sure everything's nice and accurate. So when a comment is added, update the status. That's what we're doing here. Different colors for different actions. So green is trigger, yellow is condition, blue is action, and purple is our branching, which we won't touch on today. It's really key to note that you've got a certain number of automation rule executions per month that you can use. So depending on your service tier is how many you get. So for Jira Service Management, and you'll see each product has its own quantity here. On the free plan, you get 500 a month. And that does get consumed very, very quickly if you've got any sort of customer base actively using it. Once you go to standard, you get 5,000. Premium, you get 1,000 times your number of users, which is quite a significant step up. Once you're over that, once you have more than 5 users, this is very, very beneficial. And then obviously enterprise, you get unlimited. So when we're on the free and standard, our system rules are really good for just getting free things done without having to worry about that. So that's why it's really key to make sure that these work well. So I'll look at this one here, and what this one essentially does is it looks at what kind of comment it is. So is it an internal comment? And if it's not an internal comment, because we're equal false, so if it's a customer-facing comment, we are going to then do something. So that means that if our agents are putting work notes on there, they're not going to be, disrupting our customers. Our second condition here is if they're in the service desk team, so it's one of our agents, and the status is with us in waiting for support, transition it to waiting for customer. That's really, really good. That will flick it over to them automatically. They don't have to transition it. They can ask the customer a question and over it goes. We've also got an else statement here, which is the opposite of that. If they're not in the service desk team, so they are a customer and the status is waiting for customer, let's flip it back to waiting for support. Now, so you can configure these to use whatever you want. So you could use this be work in progress, and that could be pending, right? And so that's why aligning those statuses across your workflows wherever possible is great, because it can be leveraged in multiple spots. Otherwise, we'd be able to make this work for only incidents, but not service requests, or only service requests and not incidents. But if we align those workflows, we can get all of them into one. So work in progress. So, transition the issue into, we'll go with waiting for support, waiting for customer, waiting for support for the time being, though, just to keep things simple. So that's that one. The other one requires a little bit of configuration from us. So when customer comments on a closed request, we open it. Now, this one's named wrong. I don't like that. Ideally, it should be on a resolve or cancel request. Because once again, that closed status has no way to get out of it. We can then go to our criteria. So the initiator is the customer itself. So if anyone else is on that ticket, it's not going to trigger this. And also they're not on the service desk team, right? Because we might be just providing a little bit of clarity on there for them or something like that. The other thing that's great here is a
couple of questions. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there a way to check how many runs have already been performed per month?
Absolutely.
In the automation.
Absolutely, there is. So let's just go back here. So you can see here, there's a nice little tab just here, usage. That'll show you just for this project. So we've got no role runs this month. If you are a more than a project administrator, you'll be able to go to the global administration and you can see the automation rule executions across all projects and also the rules across all projects as well. So you can see the usage here, the percentage, how many you've got remaining. You can see historical counts, so you can sort of see if you're trending up. Do you need to worry about increasing your plan or anything like that? You can also see, which your rules are using how many execution counts. So that's a really big one. Yeah, and it's a good thing to note as well is when you hit that limit, you do get a notification at 80% capacity. Once you use 80% of your rules, you'll get an email, or the admin will get an email saying you've almost reached your limit. And once you reach your limit, it all stops at that point. So none of the automation rules will run anymore. So you'll need to contact Atlassian support, see if they can help with anything, and also look at rebuilding your rules.
Jóvin, I'm going to check this with you. I believe the answer is no, but someone's asking, am I right in saying that global/cross-project automations count towards your usage, but project-specific automations do not? And I believe the answer, all automations count, I believe.
All automations count, yes. All automations count if it's global inside one product. So all in service management, it only counts towards the service management project usage limit. It only counts once as well. So if it's touching two projects, it doesn't count as two overall runs, it's only one. If it does go across Jira and Jira Service Management, it will use one execution count in both sides. So just keep that in mind. If you've got something, working with your agile team and your service management team and it's updating both sides, it will count as one rule execution on both sides there. And really, good count there on this same how's my usage calculated. There's some things that make it so it doesn't count as a rule run. So if you get really good with your conditions and the way you build your automation rules, you can avoid a lot of unnecessary executions. So if it hits a condition and does nothing, it doesn't count. Similarly, if it hits one of these actions and does nothing else outside of this, it also does not count. So logging an action in the audit log of your automation rule. So if we click on, one of these ones here, and we go to audit log, you can show the output in here. That does not count as a run if it does nothing else. If you create a variable because you want to do some comparison stuff, also does not count. Creating a lookup table, which is like creating a series of variables, also does not count. Refetching the issue data, this is a critical one. When your automation rule runs, it takes a local copy of the data of the issue. So anytime you're editing the issue in that rule, you're actually not referencing that latest version. So you need to make sure you're doing a refetch issue data. But if it only does that, once again, no execution count, and looking up a series of issues also does not count. So once again, if you get really good with your conditions and using these free actions, it doesn't count. Similarly, you can have up to 65 actions or conditions or branches in a rule. If you have 65 blue actions in your rule. So we've got, a whole heap of edit issue, lookup issue, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't count as 65 different things. It counts as one. So it's just the number of times it's run.
Just a time check.
Yeah.
We have 10 minutes left, and you'll want to make sure you save yourself time for the quiz.
Yeah, really cognizant of that. I think we've kind of actually sort of ran out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll just kind of show those two in action now. So I'm just going to jump back to my automation rules for Workflow Wizardry. So we've got our two system rules here. And what we can see this one in action. So we can see waiting for customer, waiting for support. So if I just pick any one of my tickets that we've currently got in Workflow Wizardry, I've got the queue just here. So we'll go with this one. If I put in an internal note, testing my work notes, I don't want Dave to see this, and I save that. What we can see over here, we can see automation if you're an admin. And if I refresh that, we can see a rule, we can see these happen. And if it's got a little gray one there, that means nothing happened. That was free, didn't count. If I go reply customer, hey Dave, try doing, a restart before the billing run. And I save that one there, we can refresh that. One of them didn't happen, so the customer resolved a cancel request because it's not resolved or cancelled. Interesting, it also did not update the status. So good troubleshooting, waiting for support. Interesting, I've not done that correctly then. I'm going to go ahead and say it's me. I'm not in the service desk team. Let me add myself to the service desk team. There we go. Permissions, they're always good. Try that again. Again, let's have a look at those recent rule runs, and then we'll jump into our thing. There we go. You can see successful execution count. So we've got one, and it should be in waiting for customer. If I refresh that. There we go. And then Dave can go ahead and reply to that ticket, and he'll kick it back to waiting for support. So we had to cut that short. I didn't actually get to show the good way to reduce rule counts, but I'll do a quick summary in the wrap up post, and then we can touch base on that in the next session. Then I guess, and we'll make sure that we have a much more targeted approach. Shall we jump over into Mentimeter?
We should. I'm going to give you there are two remaining questions I'm going to throw at you real quick, and give the short answer if you need to.
Yep.
In the audit log for automation, is there a filter to display only error statuses or any specific status for that matter?
Is there a way to show only error statuses?
Yeah.
I believe you can filter by certain things. Let's quickly have a look in the audit log. Let's have a quick look at our audit log. No, so the filters are time-based or the actual audit log ID itself. So we can't filter by success, no actions performed, and stuff like that. So that does definitely make it a little bit more difficult. But what's really great is that if you have any failures, it does email you the audit log ID. So you can then go ahead and paste that in and see just that failure on that audit log.
And the final question, how is one able to use the functions regarding the wizard and set up projects? They missed the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, okay, got you. So the wizard is actually the project key, just to clarify that one there. Creating the service project, I'll quickly just recap that one there. So from your projects menu, let me just share my screen again. So from the projects menu up here, if your permissions are set up in your organization to allow anyone to create projects, once you go to the projects up here and you go view your project, you can then go create project. And the service management project are dotted through all of these because they apply to everyone. Legal might have service management, sales might have some kind of service management. So you can find them all in there for different templates. Or there's one centralized one, which is just called service management right here, that has all the templates available in one spot. From there, you can then go ahead into your project, go to project settings, and you can then get to your workflows and your automations just there. And you can start building out all of that kind of stuff.
Let's go to the quiz. We only have 5 minutes left at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's race
if
through
anyone
this
has any
quiz.
further questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll follow up with you after the meeting if necessary.
Yeah. Keen to give people a chance to win those gift cards.
Right.
So
we're giving away 4 $50 gift cards to the top 4 answerers in the quiz.
Yeah, absolutely. So join in, use the QR code, make your name match your, actual name, or at least grab a screenshot showing the nickname that you created. So that way we can match you up at the end and make sure we're giving the gift cards to the right people. So we'll give about 30 more seconds for people to join in, and then we'll see how we're going with that. You can also just join by going to menti.com and using the code 17605985, and that's at the top of the screen right now, which you can see up here. Tell us where you're joining from. It's always good to see where everyone's coming from. We did have quite a few people over in APAC, and that's why we've got that demand. And we can see New Zealand, you are dedicated. It is very early for you, I'm assuming. We've also got Philippines, great. Got some Spain/Portugal. UK, lots in America.
I'm not going to name names, but somebody just joined the meeting. Clearly, they just came for the gift card giveaway.
All right, let's jump in. So just a quick question first off. How customized are your organization's workflows and automation so far? Are they just the out-of-the-box stuff? You got some limited customization, or have you got some heavy customization going on there? Or have you got lots of other admins that handle things for you? So you've kind of lost track of everything. Heavily customized. That's good. That's the point of Jira, I think, compared to other service management platforms. It's just that real dynamic, flexible thing. Cool. Let's jump in and test the knowledge. So, I forgot to update the text there, but each of these you'll get a certain amount of time. Faster the answer, the more points you get. And there's a variety of different levels of difficulty in them as well. So first one, we'll just wait for everyone to be ready. That's everyone, I think. Let's start the quiz. All right, so the first one is true or false. I didn't actually cover this before. You're going to assign one issue type to one workflow. We ran out of time to cover this off. It's 50-50 chance. I think we had 34 attendees on this, so we're just waiting for.
Yeah, a few people chose not to participate, but most of them are here.
Yeah, do apologize if we run 2 minutes over time, just in the interest of getting everyone the time to answer the question properly. It is false. You can assign multiple issue types to one workflow. You may have, I didn't cover it specifically, but you may have seen that the basic workflow, which I didn't touch on very much, had task and subtask assigned to it. So yes. This is what the quiz leaderboard looks like, and we'll see it again at the very, very end, so we can see who wins. And currently it's Keith, I believe I'm pronouncing correctly, Sean, St. Elmo, and Metal. Next question.
He's leading by not very many points.
No, 1 point.
It'll change as we go, though.
Yeah. So, which of the options below is possible with system rules? So create your own system rule, delete a system rule, add system rules from other project templates, configure the actions contained, but not remove or add. And we touched this one only briefly, but they are called system rules for a reason. Almost everyone's locked in. Yeah, everyone chose the last one, configure the actions contained, but not remove or add. So you can't create your own system rules. They're created by default when you create the service management project. You can't delete them. You can disable them, however. If you did have a service management project around before system rules were a thing, by the way, they won't be in there, but you can always add them from the three dot menu next to global administration. And you can't add system rules from other project templates. They're locked in on the template. So we've got our next question. Which of the usage limits below is not the real limit for its tier? So free 500, standard 5,000, premium 50,000, enterprise unlimited. Alrighty. I think once we see 32, I'll go over there. And it's correct, premium 50,000. The actual is premium 1,000 per user. We've got everyone in there. Next one. We didn't touch on this one here, so I might just skip this one here for everyone. I'll skip that one there, so that way it's fair for everyone. Where do you find looping transitions? It's on the action menu, which appears right next to the status transition. We'll dive into looping actions in the next session. So which condition would allow only the customer who raised the request to reopen an issue from the service portal? Once again, we didn't touch this one here. I might skip this one too. We didn't get onto that one. All right, so this one would have been you had to look at it, true or false. From the workflow diagram editor, where we were looking at the workflow and we're editing it, you can see the number of properties on a status, not a transition. So this one I didn't explicitly call out, but if you were watching carefully, you would be able to see whether you could or could not see the number of properties. Oh, hang on. We got the, I've configured this one wrong. Okay, I'll have to look at all the answers individually, guys. That is actually false. It's only on transitions you can see properties. I'll have to do a manual correction on this one, Dave. I do apologize for everyone.
All right.
And we've got the last question here. So this is a tough one. Which of the status property keys will prevent comments if the value is false? Issue.editable, Jira.issue.editable, Jira.issue.read-only, status.editable. So we did cover this one here in the workflow editing before. And it is Jira.issue.editable. If you set that to false, it is not editable. So we won't have a look at the, let's see who won.
Well, let's go ahead. I think since everybody had the same advantage or disadvantage on that question, let's go ahead and run okay. See the results anyway.
See the results, and then we'll do a quick clarification calculation on that as well.
Yeah.
So there's our final standings. Patrick, St. Elmo, Jiang, and Robert.
So St. Elmo and Robert, be sure to take a picture of your screen name and avatar, so we can. Oh, Patrick. Well, actually, I know who Patrick is, but there could be more than one Robert here. So please do let us know which Robert you are if you need to.
Yeah, and we'll just double check those scores and the answers as well, just to make sure that we're being fair on that one. And as always, you know, we did say before, let us know what you want to see. So we've got a QR code here that links to the ITSM-ESM Masters chapter page. Let us know anything you want to see, whether you like this session. We've got a survey email that come out afterwards as well. And yeah, help us make sure that these sessions are available for you all. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for attending. And we will have a meeting again next month, and then in April. In fact, the meeting for next month is already listed on our ACE master page. And then April will be the in-person meeting at Team 25. So thanks for attending. We'll see you again soon.